Hello, my name is Liz and welcome to the Tiny Treatery. And today, or this week rather, I am going to be reviewing the Mini Waffle Maker by Dash. So I have mine here. It's a precious little baby. I got it in aqua color. I got it for only $10 on Amazon. So if this thing works well, that's gonna be pretty amazing. Kind of a steal for a little appliance if you ask me. But I haven't tried it yet. Basically, today is Monday, the 21st of June, and this video goes up Friday, the 25th of June. And so my plan is to make something in this waffle maker every day for the next 5 days to be very thorough in my review of it. So today is day one, and here is this cute little envelope that the instructions come in. Obviously a lot of safety precautions and how to use it and so on and so forth. But they also have recipes. So for day one, I will be making the classic waffles recipe that comes with the waffle maker. Obviously you can just use a regular waffle mix or whatever you want, but I want to put their recipe to the test. First thing to note is that it does not tell me how many waffles this makes. So I am afraid I'm gonna end up with way more than I want, but in the interest of research and providing information, I will not reduce this recipe like I normally do, and I will make it with the ingredients that it calls for, and I will find out on your behalf how many waffles this makes. So let's head over to the kitchen and mix this batter up. Welcome to the kitchen. So this classic waffles recipe consists of a cup of flour, a tablespoon of sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of melted butter or vegetable oil, 1 egg, and a cup of milk. So now all there is to do is whisk together the dry ingredients and then pour in the wet ingredients and mix until I have a batter, which should take like 5 seconds. So I probably won't move the camera. I'll just do it now. Gonna make a lot of waffles. Not too thrilled about that. This bowl is too full. There's not much I can do about it, except get a bigger bowl, which I don't want to do. Would have been a lot easier to do this in a bowl that was bigger because I had to be very careful to not let it spill, but that's my own fault. I feel like this is gonna make like 10 waffles, which is a problem because I want like 2, so I don't know what I'm gonna do, but okay, so I have like 2 cups of batter, which I think is gonna make 8 waffles. I understand that the reason it's like this, probably because they didn't want to have to deal with instructing you to divide up an egg, but if it were up to me, I would have just weighed out half the egg and ended up with 4 waffles, or 1/4 of the egg and had 2, you know, something like that. But this is the default, 2 cups of batter, probably gonna be 8 waffles because the instructions say pour a 1/4 cup of batter into the mini waffle maker and then cook until golden brown and repeat. So 2 cups, 8 waffles. So I've plugged it in and there's a little light that turns on that tells you it's heating up. And then when the light turns off, it's heated and it'll be time for me to actually start making the waffles. So I guess you can come watch that process. Alright, so we obviously had some problems. It's very easy to make this thing overflow, so be careful of that if you want to get one of these. But it's also very easy to make that not happen, so it's not a huge problem. You just have to be careful how much batter you're pouring in. At first I was just eyeing it, and then I was like, no, I should be more careful and do exactly 1/4 of a cup like they were saying. And then the first time I tried that, it was still too much. So then I tried to do like 3 tablespoons, and that was like not enough, because that's this one that didn't fill out all the way. So then I realized you need to pour it into the center, and then when you close it, it will fill in the gaps. So be sure to not over pour it, and don't pour around the edges like I was doing, like a fool for some reason. They're pretty floppy. I think I probably needed to cook them for longer. So these might all be completely underdone, but let's find out. They taste pretty good. They are fluffy. I don't think they're raw necessarily, but I do think that I would prefer them to be a little crisper, but I think that's user error because they definitely look fine. All right, so this is why I'm doing this for more than one day, because this result is not perfect, but even in the midst of making these ones that I made, I learned a lot about how to do it correctly and how to make it work. So tomorrow, I'll be trying a different recipe and hopefully get a little better at the particularities of using this adorable little device. So far, what I have to say is it works, but you need to be careful, but for only $10, it's doing a pretty good job. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. It's day 2. You can probably hear the fan, and I'm sorry, but I'm not turning it off because I will die, because it is very hot. It's only gonna get worse over the next few weeks. Today, for testing the waffle maker, we have chocolate taco waffles. I already measured everything out, and I reduced the recipe to be 1/4 of the size it calls for. So 1/2 tablespoon of cocoa powder, 2 tablespoons of flour, about 3 tablespoons of sugar. It should be a little less than that. It's really 1/6 of a cup, so that's the conversion I went with. 1/4 of an egg, which I weighed out with my scale. 1/2 tablespoon of vegetable oil. It actually says canola, but I have vegetable, so I'm sure it'll be fine. And 2 tablespoons of milk. Mix the wet into the dry. Here's our batter. I don't know if you can see it. It's probably gonna spill. And I'll bring you over to watch the actual making of the waffles, and I hope that it goes better than yesterday. So you're supposed to put them on a cylindrical object so that they turn into tacos, and then serve them with ice cream. I think my rolling pin is way too big though, and they're not really gonna be taco shaped, so I'll probably just give up on that and just eat them. I don't really want ice cream at 8 in the morning. Anyway, before we get to that, all right, let's plate them. Turned off one of my 2 fans because I am a saint and Mother Teresa wants what I have, and I'm doing what I can to improve the audio for you, but I'm not closing the window, so probably still terrible. But anyway, here we have these. I guess I changed my mind and decided I do want ice cream at 8 in the morning. They're not very taco shaped, but like I said, that's the fault of my rolling pin. One of them has a bunch of holes in it because I didn't pour enough batter in, and the other one has some holes in it, but for the second one, I measured out the batter per the instructions, 3 tablespoons. This one did not have as many overflowing problems as yesterday, partially because I'm more careful and I learned my lesson, but also this one had no baking powder, so it didn't rise and like raise the little lid up and spill out. Another thing is that it says to cook until crispy, and that doesn't seem to happen. Like I keep waiting and it just stays soft. I don't know if I'm just really impatient, but something to note. Tasty though. Goes good with the ice cream. These are good. They taste like chocolate cereal, but in soft waffle form, which is a good texture. And it's really convenient that I had ice cream, because I normally don't, but I bought that this weekend. I'll say that the waffle maker is still coming out on top, and that it is mostly succeeding at its job. Perhaps not as flawlessly as advertised, but when does anything work as flawlessly as advertised? Again, for $10, really successful. And we'll see what tomorrow brings. Welcome to day 3. It's still way too hot in here, but I do have a portable AC unit on the way, so I won't have it in time for this video to be posted, but at least my suffering will end soon. But until then, loud fans in the background is the way it's gonna be. So for day 3, I'm doing something very simple because I'm lazy. And it's lunchtime anyway. So near the back of the book, there are these like little recipe ideas that are simple and they're made of components that like come pre-made. So today I'll be doing the grilled cheese, which I really am interested to see if this works at all. I don't really understand. It says 2 slices of white or wheat bread, I have wheat bread, buttered, and 2 slices of American cheese. I'm gonna use mozzarella because, not to expose myself, but I've never had American cheese. It seems really nasty. So I'm just gonna make a grilled cheese with mozzarella instead. But I just don't see how 2 pieces of bread are gonna, well, I don't know, but 2 is really thick. I don't know if it'll close. But there's only one way to find out, isn't there? Alright, turned 1 fan off, time for the taste test. So honestly, I'm surprised at how well this worked. I did have to push it down pretty hard to make sure that I was like confident that it was doing its job, but I cooked it for about 4 minutes and it was like really sizzling. It said to do 5, but I was somewhere between 4 and 5. And I mean, it looks a little weird, it's definitely silly, but I mean, I gotta admit, it was very easy and the cheese melted just fine. Might be my favorite thing I've made, and it's extremely tasty, and it was the easiest to make for sure. Wow, I really didn't think this was gonna work. Thought I was gonna have some harsh words for the team at Dash, but I guess they really weren't lying when they said you could make a grilled cheese in it, so another positive for the cheap Mini Waffle Maker. Day 4! Today I'm doing another one of the recipe ideas, and today I'm doing chocolate chip cookie, which involves 2 tablespoons of cookie dough cooked for 5 to 7 minutes in the waffle maker. You can obviously make your own dough or get some pre-made cookie dough already. I made this from scratch and I only made this much because after all, this is the tiny treatery. I'm hoping to get exactly 1 cookie out of this, so let's bake it. Alright, that was very easy. So I guess I have a cookie now. I think it's a little underdone. I went on the very, very low end of 5 minutes. It might not have even been quite 5 minutes, and it said 5 to 7, but I was worried that the outside was gonna get too crispy. Let's see how it tastes. I don't know about this one. I guess it's okay. It's kind of confusing my mind because I've never eaten a cookie that was shaped like a waffle, so the shape and texture is throwing me off. Yeah, I can't say I'm the biggest fan of this, but also, I've never tried that dough recipe as a real cookie. So for all I know, the actual cookies might not even be good, so this is not the most scientific experiment, but I guess it technically did work. It technically did bake this cookie, but I will probably never use it for that purpose ever again. But if you want to try it, it does work. So my overall commentary on the cookie attempt is pretty neutral. It worked, but I don't like it, but that could be a me problem. But I'll see you tomorrow for the very last day of testing this waffle maker. Day 5, last day that I will be testing recipes in the waffle maker. So today, I'm doing a recipe that is not in the book. I found it online, and it's for red velvet waffles, because red velvet is my favorite flavor, and I thought that would be a fun way to end the review. So I've already measured everything out. I took the original recipe, which will be linked below, and divided it by 8. I'll put these measurements in the description if you want them. 1/4 cup flour, 3/2 teaspoons of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon cocoa powder, 1/16 teaspoon salt, 3.5 tablespoons of buttermilk, which I make by just squirting some lemon juice and then filling the rest with milk. 2 teaspoons of melted butter, 12 grams of an egg, 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla, and a 1/16 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. Red velvet is unfortunately complicated in that it involves a lot of ingredients, but it's my favorite. So now I just have to mix the dry into the wet and add some red food coloring. And voila, we're ready to make what I hope is 2 waffles. So for the last time in this video, come watch me use the waffle maker. Alright, the final taste test. Obviously these didn't fill out as well as I expected them to, so I should have put more batter in, but I guess I ended up with like one that's like 97% of a waffle, one that's like 75% of a waffle, and one that's like 60% of a waffle. Whatever. They look nice and fluffy. Tasty. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. Could it really have gone all that wrong? I don't have a knife, so I'm just gonna eat with my hands. They don't scream red velvet to me, but they're still pretty good. But the fact that they don't scream red velvet is not really a reflection on the Dash Mini Waffle Maker. So, final thoughts. It definitely works pretty well, in fact, but you have to get used to it and be careful and experiment with just how much batter you need to put in, and different recipes are going to act differently. Like this batter was very, very thick and not very flowy, and I thought it would spread out, but it didn't, so I needed to put more in than I initially thought. But the original recipe, it rose a lot and it was more flowy, and I put too much in and then it spilled. So you just have to be careful, and if you don't want to clean up a mess, maybe err on the side of caution and just have some jagged looking waffles. I mean, they're still cute like this, so you know, that's fine. But for $10, absolutely worth it. And my favorite thing I got to do in it, honestly, was the grilled cheese. So if you want a cute little grilled cheese maker that makes weird waffle shaped grilled cheeses, this is the product for you. Yeah, so you watched me use it over these 5 days and you saw how well it worked. But I can say, for as cheap as it is, I recommend it. If it was like $30, I might recommend it lightly. Like if you really think you need a little waffle maker, then yes. But for $10, I mean, that's basically free. So thanks for joining me over these 5 days and watching me make different things in this little appliance. Hope you learned the information that you wanted to. So again, thanks for watching, and subscribe for more baking adventures.